Good morning, everyone. Wow, this morning is just going crazy. I just tried to start this live video and it said, I didn't have a good enough connection and I'm running late. And usually I do not run late. I'm usually on time or early, but today just started off wrong. You know, when you have a day that just starts off wrong? Well, it actually started off wrong on Monday morning. So Monday morning, my dear son had a test to do his driver's license, his road test, finally getting his driver's license. But they had canceled it on Saturday. So he got this really weird appointment at 6 a.m. in the morning. So we all got up at like 4:30 in the morning because the place was like half an hour drive away. And so I got up really early, set the alarm really early. That went well. My son has his driver's license and everything. Well, fast forward to today, my alarm went off at 4:30 this morning and I was like, oh crap, I forgot to change it. So I turned it off, I went back to sleep and I overslept. So all this morning I've been playing catch up to get to this point and I didn't even have time to post reminders that I was doing Facebook Live. It's just, one of those mornings. I'm sure you've all had them. So I'm so glad to have you here today. It's Casing Tuesday, the day that we case the card out of the catalog. And we changed some things about it. Some people copy the card exactly the same way, but it's whatever you want to do with that card. And the reason we do this is because we often work with a different style than we're used to, or a different layout than we're used to, and it helps us become better stampers. That's the whole idea of this group. So, and I know it has done that for me and for Catalina, who's my partner in all of this. And I'm hoping it will also help you. And that's why we have a Facebook group where you can go and share your card that you made based on the card that we have in the catalog. And if you want to go back, we have all the challenges. Oh crap, now my phone's ringing. I knew that would happen. Oh, yes. Okay, I am just going to turn off my answering machine. Be right back. Just hold on. Okay, I turned off my answering machine. I have a secondary answering machine and it will go to that one and I'll be able to answer that call later, but every single time, when you start off having a bad day, it just kind of, not that that's a bad day, it's just like, I hate being disorganized. So that's kind of a pet peeve of mine. And today is just going to be one of those days. So, but anyway, getting back to the Facebook group, it's a great way for you to join in and share your card. And you can, do it based on the card in the catalog. And then we can see your design and we can comment on it. And it's kind of fun. So I hope you'll join me over there. The link for that group is in the description of this video. So without further ado, before I muddle everything else up, let me switch the camera around and I'll show you the card for today and then I'll make my card. And if you have any questions going forward, just post them at the end of this video, or if I see them live and I think they're pertinent, I'll answer them right away, or I'll go back at the end and I will answer your questions. So a big welcome to everyone who's joined me live so far. And if you're watching this recorded video, thank you so much for watching the recorded version too. I appreciate everyone that follows me. So, okay, let me turn this around. Okay, just if you're motion sick, close your eyes for a second while I get this camera settled. Move this in here. Okay, I think that's pretty good. So this is the card we're casing today. It's from the holiday catalog on page 51. The first time I looked at it, I barely noticed it because it doesn't show the full-size card, but I saw potential in this layout. And I don't know if you can tell, but there's a piece of vellum back here. It's a very soft and subtle layer, and you can barely see it. But on my card, which is right here, I made it more pronounced. And I love this champagne foil paper. This is new in the holiday catalog, and it is just so pretty. And so I thought I would add it back in there. And so that's my card, and it's a little different, but it's also kind of fall themed, but it's kind of got the same layout. Instead of a doily, I did leaves. I think we both, on our cards, we used jute twine, but everything else is just a little bit different. So let me show you how I made this card. Oh, and before I forget, I'm using the Painted Harvest bundle. Now, you might not know this, but this was one of the most popular stamp sets when we did the demonstrator pre-order, which is a little bit unusual for a fall set, because usually, you know, the first thing that people want to order is Christmas sets. And I'm sure there were lots of Christmas sets also ordered, but this one caught everyone's eye, and it's because of this beautiful sunflower. And this is available as a bundle, so this punch here will punch out the leaves, and you'll get to see that later. If you buy this together as a bundle, you can save 10%, so that's always nice. So let me move those out of the way, and I'm going to move my card up here to the top so we can kind of follow along on the progress. So to start off with, I'm trying to think what would be the best way. Let's start off by stamping, because that's always the hardest thing. So we're going to stamp this focal point layer with the sunflower right here. And the layer, this layer I cut to 2 1/4 inches by 3 1/2 inches. I will have all the measurements on my blog post. So if you go in the description of this video, just click on the link that will take you to this blog post. It takes you directly there. Down at the bottom, I have a little box called Quick Reference, and it shows you all the dimensions for the layers I use. Now, if you're creating a card and your focal point is slightly larger, you can adjust those dimensions. They don't have to be exact. So, you know, this is just kind of like a ballpark for you. Okay. So I stamped the sunflower in crushed curry. So let me grab that. And I started off, the sunflower has 2 pieces to it. And I needed the sunflower to fit on this layer, and there's not a lot of room. So how do I get it so it's centered so it looks right? So I start off with the biggest piece of the sunflower first, because that way I know it will fit. If I started off with the smaller, I might not get it in the right place. So start with the bigger one if you can. And I started, I don't know why, but for all the cards that I stamped with this, there's this little piece that sticks out more than the others. I had that in the top right corner. And that just, I don't know why that worked for me, but I'm just going to ink this up full strength, trying to get it near the top. I'm just trying to also center it and just stamp it down like that. That's pretty good. Then what I did, because sometimes this hole is a little bigger on the bigger sunflower piece is a little bigger than the center, I decided I would stamp the center next. And I don't know why this makes it easier to get the sunflower right, but it just does. So I'm using soft suede for the center. And this is the little center right here. And I'm just going to ink this up. And this one has, I don't know if it has a slight piece that kind of sticks out a little bit more on one side than the other. So I think I'm going to try, I don't know, I'm trying to aim it. When I did it before, there just seemed to be a way that it seemed to work better. So I'm just going to aim that to the center and stamp it. Now I did a pretty good job. Like, there's not a whole lot of white space on the sides, but the nice thing about the next stamp that I'm going to stamp, it's going to actually hopefully fill in any of the cracks. So I'm going back with the crushed curry, and when I'm hovering over this, I don't know if this is going to be really easy to see on the camera, but I'm really trying to center it, and not on your view so much, because I can kind of see what your view will be, but on my view I can see a little bit of brown peeking around in the center, and when that gets centered, that's when it's going to look the best. So I'm just going to try and get a little bit of brown peeking around the center. If you're stamping it, you'll understand what I mean. And I think I did a pretty good job. There's a little bit of white right there, but it's hardly even noticeable. So that's how the sunflower should look on that layer. And then the other thing we need to do is we need to stamp some leaves. So I've got a piece of lemon lime twist cardstock here, and there are two leaves. One that's kind of like a watercolor one and one that's more like an outline. I'm doing the one that's more of an outline, and I'm going to use garden green for that. And I need two sets of leaves, so I'm just going to stamp this down here. You want the stem to face down because that's the way the punch works. So you're just going to do that. And then you're going to bring in your leaf punch. And then you're just going to center it on here. And then punch. And I'm going to do this for the other one. When you're working with these punches, if you're not familiar with them, you can squeeze down a little bit without punching all the way through, and that kind of helps you position it and move it a little bit if you're kind of clamping it a little bit without punching it through. So that's what I'm doing. And then there's the second leaf. Okay, we need to do one more thing. I forgot that I need to stamp I'm thankful for you. So bring back in my soft suede ink pad, and I need a layer for this greeting right here. And this piece I cut to kind of an odd measurement, but it's 2 7/8 inches by 1 1/4. And like I said before, if you don't want to deal with the eighths, just like round it up to 3 inches by 1 1/4, and that might work a little bit better for your brain. And then I've got my greeting, I'm thankful for you. I love this greeting. And ink that up, and I want that fairly close to the one side because I'm going to have the bow over on that side like that. So I think I've done all the stamping that I need to do. All right. I also have to say that I stamped this card at the beginning of August. So this morning when I was trying to figure out what I had done, it took me a minute to figure out what colors I had stamped in and everything. So my brain is still working overtime for this one. Okay, I used thick Very Vanilla cardstock for the card base, and it's 11 inches by 4 1/4 inches. And I scored this in half at the 5.5 inch mark, and then I folded it. I've got a layer of, this is the Painted Autumn Designer Series paper. It is 4 1/4 inches by 5.5, the same size as the front of my cardstock. I am going to use just a little bit of snail on the back of here on each of the 4 corners. And then I'm just going to line this up on here. All right, there, that looks pretty good. Then what I want to do is take this champagne foil layer. This layer is 3 1/8 inches by 4.5 inches. I'm debating, I don't know if snail will cut it for this layer. I might go ahead and use Tombow. Snail is okay for light layers, but foil paper is just a little bit more substantial, so I'm going to use Tombow on it. And this layer just gets centered right on the front layer, so I don't have to kind of worry about where exactly it falls. Okay, then we're going to need a layer to back up my focal point layer. So these two layers are exactly the same size. So this is garden green cardstock, and it is also 2 1/4 inches by 3.5 inches. And before I stick this on the champagne foil paper, it just makes sense to just layer them together like that. So I'm just going to put a little bit of Tombow on this side right here. And then I'm just going to have about, I'd say like 1/4 inch of the garden green peeking out on the top and the bottom. So then I can add it to this layer. So I just want to, before I glue it down, I want to kind of see how I want to have this on here. This is probably going to be about 3/8 of an inch on all 4 sides. So I'm just going to take some Tombow and just kind of stick this down. Actually, I'm basically just centering it on the champagne layer. That looks pretty good. So then I think what I did, like I said, I did this before. I think what I did is I put this up here on dimensionals, and then I think I squeezed these little leaf guys on here afterwards. So I didn't put dimensionals right over here on this side so I could squeeze them in, because I kind of wanted to have this positioned first before, you know, I messed with that side. Actually, I layered it up a little bit. I layered it up so the vanilla ends ended up like that. So I'm going to flip this over, and I'm just going to put dimensionals on this area right here. Dimensionals, if you don't know, are these little foam dot thingies. So maybe about there. I need enough here on this side so that my leaves can squeeze under there, so I can position them. So let me remove these. Oh, they're going everywhere. Okay, let's get them off of my work surface. All right, so then I'm lining it up with the edge of my very vanilla layer, and I'm going to come through like that. See how that's coming together? This area right over here is so busy that it's kind of hard to see how I put it together, so I'm glad I can show you how it's being assembled. Now these little leaves, just play around with them a little bit before you stick them down, so you kind of have an idea of where you want them to go. Yeah, that looks good. So let me put some Tombow on the back of this guy here. And then I'm just going to hold the very tip of the leaf, slide it in like that. And then I can do the same for this one. It looks complicated, but it's not really complicated. It just looks complicated because you can't see where everything goes. And then this one can go right about there, like that. And then you can tell how much of a difference that this little bow makes, because right now this looks kind of funny. It needs something right here. Where are my glue dots? Yes, I need glue dots. So let me show you how I did this little bow. So this is jute twine, and this is new in the holiday catalog, and I love this because it kind of gives, it's like a fall feel to it, right? Well, it's a little thick right now. Like if I were to tie a bow with this, let me just show you. I mean, it's cute, but it's like pretty chunky, right? You know, and it would be okay, but it doesn't have the softness of this one. So what you can do, I cut an 8-inch length of this jute twine, and you can untwist it. So I'm just kind of unraveling it at the end, right? And basically 3 strands will come unraveling. And now you've got like this piece of kind of jute that's like unraveled, right? You've got 3 pieces. Now you can make 3 bows if you want to. And then you can just go ahead and, for this one, I would do the bunny ear method, like 2 loops, and then you tie the loops together, right? So you do that, then you just have to kind of bring it back and forth until you've got, you know, the right amount. Then what I do is I would cut it shorter, and then what I did is I kind of unraveled the ends a little bit so they're all kind of fanned out, which I think looks really cool. So that's how I did that little bow. And then you can just use a glue dot, and there's one right on here. You can barely see it. I'm sticking my knot on that glue dot, and I'm removing it, and then I can bring it right over here and add it to my project like that. So that's how I like to work with the jute twine. I really much prefer to have it unraveled because it just looks, it looks more rustic. It looks, you know, more free, not so all enclosed, but I love how it looks when you unravel it. It's so cool. So let me turn this back around. Let me turn myself back around. Hello again. So that was my card for today. Let me scroll up and see if I have any questions from you guys. If you have any questions right now, you could post them too. Hello, friend Amy Wilson, all the way from Tennessee. It's nice to see you. And hello to everyone else who's joining me live. Janine, Catherine, Janie, and Karen from New Jersey. Welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining me live today. If you need any information about the Casing Tuesday Facebook group, go in the description of this video and click on the link that will take you there. If you want to know the dimensions, you want to know the supplies I use, there's a link to my blog post that has all of those things there. I have a clickable supply list and I have all the dimensions that I used. What else can I tell you? I do a Facebook Live every Tuesday at 10 a.m. So if you want to join me, just put it on your calendar or set a reminder for yourself. I do try and send out a reminder, but like this morning, it just didn't happen. So I'm so glad some of you were able to join me live anyway, even though I was like not very organized this morning. But anyway, I hope you all have a great week and I hope that you have sunshine in your forecast. There's been too many storms and too much rain recently, and I hope everyone dries out and the sunshine comes out, and I hope you all have a very happy week, and I will see you next week. Bye for now.